Welcome. Today we're diving right in, literally and figuratively, into one of the most stunning architectural marvels in all of India. In this explainer, we're going to explore the fascinating history, the incredible 8th century architecture, the completely genius water conservation engineering, and, believe it or not, the modern cinematic legacy of baori.
Okay, let's dive into this. 3,500. That staggering number, that represents the narrow, perfectly symmetrical steps carved straight into the earth that we're about to explore together.
The well boasts a sweeping, breathtaking drop of 13 cascading stories, plunging roughly 100 feet down into a massive green tank. Baori is literally one of the deepest and largest stepwells in India. I mean, just take a second to absorb the sheer, monumental scale of this thing. And that brings us to the core mystery of our topic today. Why? Why on earth did an 8th century king decide to excavate a massive, upside-down pyramid straight into the desert floor? To find out, let's descend to the first layer of our explainer.
Section 1. Origins of baori. Setting the foundation for our journey, the site sits in the village of Abahaneri, out in the state of Rajasthan. It takes its name from Raja Chanda, a local ruler from the Nikumb Rajput dynasty, and based on the architectural style and carvings, experts date the oldest parts of this incredible well all the way back to the 8th and 9th centuries.
Tracing the timeline of the whole complex reveals a pretty fascinating evolution. The sculpturally beautiful Harshat Mata temple right next door was likely built first, maybe around the 7th or 8th century. Then, Raja Chanda actually constructed the Baori itself, but the site wasn't just frozen in time. It saw continuous use for centuries, with pillared verandas and upper rooms getting added on much later, during the late medieval period.
Now, what's really interesting about this is something author Morna Livingston points out. Baori is actually one of the very few stepwells that features two classical periods of water building in a single setting. We're literally looking at layers of history stacked right on top of each other. Like those tabulated arches used by the Chauhan rulers, they were a later addition that got seamlessly integrated right into the older, original foundation.
Section 2. An upside-down pyramid.
You see, this wasn't just some giant random hole dug into the ground to find water. Not at all. It's a textbook architectural masterpiece. In fact, classical Indian texts on architecture, like the Aparajita Prisha, actually have a specific name for this exact design. They call it a Vijay Vapi. So that tells us this stepwell was a monumental, text-accurate construction built to an exacting ancient blueprint.
The exquisite diamond-setting geometry on the steps is honestly mesmerizing. It's almost like an optical illusion. You've got double flights of steps on each of the 10 landings, perfectly mirrored across 3 distinct sides of the structure. It's just pure mathematical perfection, carved straight out of solid stone.
Section 3. Ancient desert water conservation.
Now, as we get to the bottom of the well, we have to remember where we are. Rajasthan, in western India, is an extremely arid region. For the people living here centuries ago, conserving water wasn't just a matter of convenience, right? It was an absolute matter of survival. The entire design of baori was specifically engineered to conserve as much of that precious water as humanly possible. So the crucial point is the brilliant environmental engineering at play here. It's all about contrast. Up at the surface, you've got the punishing, intense heat of the desert. But down at the bottom of the stepwell, the air actually remains 5 to 6 degrees Celsius cooler than at the top. Essentially acted as a massive natural air conditioning system, turning the bottom of the well into a vital community gathering spot when the summer heat got really unbearable.
Because of this microclimate, Baori became a multi-purpose oasis. That nearby Harshat Mata temple, which was dedicated to the goddess of joy, by the way, was a huge pilgrimage site. So, picture this. Wearied travelers, pilgrims, and local villagers alike all finding solace, resting at these cooler, lower steps, and finally quenching their thirst after a long, exhausting journey across the desert.
Section 4. Royals, Ruins, and Rituals.
Remember how those cascading steps were perfectly mirrored on 3 sides? Well, the 4th side, facing north, diverges completely. Instead of steps, it features multi-level pillared corridors, grand pavilions, and get this, even a haveli, a royal resting room built directly into the structure itself. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer artistry of the place. You can find intricate stone-carved, star-patterned windows of that royal haveli sitting alongside incredibly detailed deity sculptures, like shrines to Ganesha and Mahishasura Mardini, Honestly, it's kind of a miracle we can still admire these today, especially since the site suffered heavy damage over history from invaders like Mahmud of Ghazni and later the Mughals, who destroyed a lot of the interior sculptures.
But despite all that damage over the centuries, the well kept evolving to serve its people. A great example is the Andheri Ujala. This was a small, specialized room built into the complex specifically to draw water using traditional pulley-like equipment. It just goes to show that Chand Baori wasn't a static monument. It was a living, breathing, working piece of infrastructure that people continually adapted for better utility.
Section 5. A Modern Cinematic Legacy.
Now, as we start our ascent back to the surface, bringing things out of the 8th century, you might actually recognize this incredible structure. It's built quite a modern cinematic legacy. It's been used as an actual filming location for Indian and international films like Bhumi, The Fall, Bul Bul Aya, and Paheli. Oh, and a quick piece of trivia. While it's famously associated with the 2012 Hollywood blockbuster The Dark Knight Rises, serving as the visual inspiration for that terrifying, inescapable prison Batman gets thrown into, they didn't actually film on location here. Instead, the production set was just heavily inspired by the mesmerizing geometry of Chand Baori.
Let's move to and see how this builds together into the sheer scale we've just explored. Summarizing the unbelievable journey we've just taken, what started as a desperate need for a desert water source back in the 8th century transformed into an architectural masterpiece, a royal retreat, a religious sanctuary, and finally, a globally recognized cinematic icon.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. When you look down into the depths of Chand Baori, how does the ingenuity, the environmental genius, and the sheer beauty of this ancient 8th century infrastructure compare to the public works we build today? It really makes you marvel at the capabilities of ancient engineering, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.